And he said, anyone who learns from the Zera Shimshon is bound to see miracles and rewards. I was sharing with a few people 2 weeks ago or last week miracles that personally took place once we started to do the Zera Shimshon, and it's amazing, and we hope to be able to continue to do so. All right, so this week's parasha, it's two parashiot, and it's going to be much easier if Rafael give everyone a chumash, because I want to look at a few words, and once we look at a few words, it'll be very easy to understand everything that I'm going to say henceforth, and the shiur is going to be very gishmak. We have to look inside a few words. You want to, yeah, very good. What? Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna look at. There's also one. We're gonna look at. First, we're gonna look at. Page 473, Perek Lamed Aleph. 473. Pasuk begins. Pasuk Aleph, Perek Lamed Aleph. Pasuk Aleph. It's about 5 lines down. Vayidaber Hashem Moshe lemor. Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, Nekom, take revenge, Nikmat b'nei Yisrael, the revenge for the Jewish people, Me'et ha-Midyanim, from these Midyanim, Achar te'asef el amecha. And after you do that, Moshe Rabbeinu, after you're going to take the revenge, what's going to happen? Te'asef el amecha. You're going to be niftar. Te'asef means we gather you, el amecha, to your people. That means you're going to Shamayim. You're going to go visit the rest of the people up there, your nation in Shamayim. Which clearly states, if he does this nekama, what will happen? He'll die. Now, derech agav, just stam, the midrash, there's a lot of midrash on this, there's a lot of mifarshim on this, and they showed how Moshe Rabbeinu was a great tzaddik. He could have delayed this war 1,000 years, because this pasuk says, when you do this war, you're going to die. So, if I'm Moshe Rabbeinu, I say, you know what? I'm not doing any war. I'm going to delay. 1,000 years. What's that? Because I'm not going to die for 1,000 years. Yet we see the tzidkat of Moshe, and we're going to talk on Shabbat, the next drush, why Moshe is so connected to this war with the Midyanim. That's going to be in Sadash Rishit. Maybe I'll say it over the Shabbat, but Sadash Rishit, we're going to talk about it. But today we're going to talk about something else. They are told you're going to make a war. Okay. Pasuk Gimel. Vaydaber Moshe, and Moshe spoke El Ha'am to the nation, Lemor, saying, Hechaletzu mi'itechem. Very interesting word, Hechaletzu mi'itechem. If I was going to say, take from yourself people for the war, I would say, gather, He'asifu, or Likahel, make a kehilah. Let's get a kehilah going here, and then we'll go and do something. What all of a sudden? Hechaletzu. And go further. Hechaletzu me'itechem anashim latzava. Ve'yu al Midyan, and you'll be on Midyan. On Midyan? Are you going to jump on them? What are you going to do to them? It should be you're going to have milchama with Midyan. Let's make the fan go this way too. So I don't understand. The pasuk absolutely no sense to me only. So it doesn't make any sense. And these questions is what Zera Shimshon is going to use to prove an amazing point. Let's go one more pasuk. We're going to go now to pasuk Vav. Vayishlach otam Moshe, and Moshe sends them 1,000 lamateh, 1,000 per each shevet, so that's 12,000 soldiers in total, right? Otam vet Pinchas ben Elazar kohen latzava, and what will Pinchas have? Uklei HaKodesh, v'chatzotzerot, and trumpets, hateruah, that you're going to blow with, biyado, in his hand. Now all this is good, except one part. If you look at the Midrash Tanchuma, and I had my computer open upstairs to the Midrash Tanchuma, the Midrash Tanchuma decides to say, oh, you know what we're talking about, Chatzotzrot? Like the Gemara in Shabbat, we used to blow, do you remember this Gemara in Lamed Hey? The Gemara says in Lamed Hey, we take the Chazan, the main guy in the community, gets up on a roof, almost like we have by Muncie, and in Borough Park we had it in Brooklyn. On Shabbat, what do? Big sound, you know, in 18 minutes Shabbat's coming. Drop, stop, and let's go. So they got this minhag from the Gemara and Shabbat. They got it from back then. What was there? The guy gets up and he makes a trumpet. Trumpet number 1 tells you anyone that's far away, you got to start coming back. Stop your work. Trumpet, they wait in between. After certain trumpets, they wait a certain amount of time. After number 3, the Gemara says they wait as much as it takes to fry a small fish, or to, the Gemara says very interestingly, if it's on, if it still works. And they, as long as it takes to take dough and stick it into the tanur, so that the bread should stick on. How long that takes? A minute. So after 3, they would start doing it quicker. So the first 3, they gave some time. They blew once. Anyone who was far away, hey, remember, it's time to stop work. Second time, everyone now is closer, got to come into the home. By the third time, they're reminding you last minute things, finish up. You have a plate of fish you have to fry, get it in now. Did you do the bread yet? No, stick it in now. Afterwards, after number 3, if there's food on the oven, you can't keep it cooking now. You have to put like either plata, or back then, they didn't do plata. What did they do? Who remembers what they used to do? Your grandparents will tell you, we made a hole in the ground, we put the pot in the earth, and we covered it up because that's a perfect insulation. What did they do with that 100 years ago? The horse and buggy drivers, they wanted to eat lunch. What do? They put stuff in the ground, covered it all up, they come back, and the Gemara says, this is times from back then. We didn't need a refrigerator. And so on and so forth. Zera Shimshon says, I don't get this. Usually you take trumpets for the war. You blow the trumpet, they should pray. You blow the trumpet that the soldiers should come. You blow the trumpet and you say, anyone who's not Yerei Shamayim, go home. You cannot be in the war. Anyone who talks, go home. Anyone who just got married, go home. Anyone who, and whoever's left will go to the war. And then they make sounds. The Sefer Devarim talks about how you go to war. You have to make such sounds that the opposing team, the opposing army, should be scared from you. You don't even have to fight. You just make noise and they're going to run. That's how it's been. And we know that. And the Hollywood producers do that in all their, and they show these old how the war was in Rome and Greece and all that. What do? They got people with trumpets, blowing it through the roof, making such sounds that everyone, Rashi says, you stamp with the feet. So you get everybody excited. The other side is worried now. Oh my God, the very ground is shaking. They get them so scared that when you come in as an opposing army attacking, there's not even a real fight. They already gave up. They gave up before you walked in from the sounds. And yet, what does it say in the Midrash Tanchuma? How to keep Shabbat. This is what Pinchas brought, trumpets, to tell you about keeping Shabbat. So really, the Zera Shimshon tells us, he goes into this entire analytical debate, and he says, we got to understand, first of all, What kind of fight are we doing? What did the Torah say? The Torah say fight? Or it said al midyan, just go to them, be on top of them. So he brings a Perush Siftei Kohen, not the Shach from Shulchan Aruch, Siftei Kohen from 1600s. And he writes, you should know, and that's where most people heard this from, the war was a miraculous war. Not one person picked up the finger. The only conventional battle was Bilam. They had to kill Bilam, they used the sword for that one. Everyone else, in fact, that's why I said, look at the word hechaletzu, right? I said, look at Gimel, hechaletzu. Hechaletz also means like chalitza, to remove, to take away, to disarm.
Divide.
What?
Divide.
To divide, lachalok. But also the Torah uses when there's a person has to do yibum, and they don't want to do it, there's a chalitza, bet chalutz now, you separate it. They disarm. In other words, exactly what you're saying. According to this Siftei Kohen, hechaletzu means remove your weapons, divide, take it away. What kind of war? You don't need a war. We're not doing anything. All you have to do is just get up and go to the Minyanim, and I will take care.
Where does it say?
So he brings it down in the from the word hechaletzu. And because by Bil'am it says that they killed Bil'am lefi charev in Pinchas, only him they used the sword, nobody else. So what kind of war was it? It was a miraculous war. Why? Why do we need to say it's a miraculous war? Because there's two types of wars. One war is called Milchemet Mitzvah. God commanded you, conquer over the land of Canaan. Yeah, it's a mitzvah. Even on Shabbat you could do it. Then you have Milchemet Reshut. David HaMelech needs a garage for horses. He sees the country next door is great for horses. They come over to this, say, hello, we're your neighbors. You want to be slaves? No? Okay, kill them all. That's a Milchemet Reshut. That's optional. You want to, you could. You cannot do Milchemet Reshut on Shabbat. Okay. This one seems like Milchemet Mitzvah, because it says, Nikol Nikmat Ha-Shem. But one problem. If you're going to do this, who dies? Moshe Rabbeinu. So what kind of mitzvah is it? Kill the people that hate Hashem. And by doing that, you're also killing the one and only guy that loves Hashem, that protects us, and that's our leader that connects us to Hashem. And maybe you would think now, it's not a mitzvah. Pay attention to this. This is crazy. So, it is a mitzvah. Nekol Nikmat Hashem. Do it. Problem. If I do that, I'm also going to end up having Moshe Rabbeinu niftar. Maybe it's not a mitzvah. Not only that, even Milchemet Reshut, let's say the opposing army came after the Jewish people, and it's on Shabbat. Well, we shouldn't do anything? Just stand there, kill us on Shabbat? No, Sakana Nefashot, you're allowed to. So Reshut or Mitzvah, you could do it on Shabbat. Problem is, Moshe Rabbeinu is going to die. We don't want to say it's a Milchemet Mitzvah, because we don't want Moshe to die. We're going to wait. We're going to wait. So far so good? Therefore, now I want to tell you one thing before we go any further. Usually, we protect our people. Understand? He's one of us. We're not going to let him down. Moshe Rabbeinu was one of us. We don't want him to go down. You don't want him to go down. I'll give you an example. This happened to me mamash today. I think it's because I was teaching this, and I think Hashgacha Pratit. I'm driving, a little tired. I went to Brooklyn today, so I didn't pay attention on the ways. There was a cop right after the 87. Catches me doing an 81. I was doing much more than that, but his machine called me on 81. Pulls me over. He tells me you got to stop. Someone's behind me. I look. I see the lights. I'm like, okay, flip into the middle lane, then go to the right lane, and I just had to stop for him. What was I going to tell him? I had nothing to say. I opened my wallet, I pulled out my cards. I have 2 cards. And I'm part of a fraternity order of police. I'm part of them, Lodge 777, as a chaplain. Pulled out my chaplain card, pulled out all the cards, and I just told them that I'm one of you. I love you, I support you, I'm part of you. They don't let their guy go down. So he didn't even bother going to the computer to check. He's like, okay, just stay safe. Gave me back everything, and I went further. Naturally, we don't want to fight this war if we know Moshe Rabbeinu is Talui. Why he's Talui, we're going to do that on Shabbat. We're going to find out why is he so perfect for this job. Okay? We're not going to let him go down. So maybe we're not going to do it, even though we're going to say, if it's not a mitzvah, we don't want him to die. The whole point is to, so now take a look. What did we say? We're not going to fight this war physically. You said Hashem's going to do it. I want to show you one more pasuk to show you what exactly was our point, what we were supposed to do, and then all this falls into place. Everyone open up to Parshat Pinchas, where, Parshat, in Perek Chavhei, Pasuk Yud Perek Chavhei Pasuk Yud is Parashat Pinchas. Yeah, Pinchas Pasuk Yud. So that's page 458, second paragraph. 458, second paragraph. And what does it say there? וידבר השם משה לאמור, צרור את המדיינים, והכיתם אותו. Why kitzorerim hem lachem? What does this new word that we just exposed to, tzaror, mean? Look at Rashi. Rashi writes on the page. It's going to be in the second column of Rashi, and it's going to be about 8 lines down. Tzaror. Kemo zachor, shamor, watch, remember, lashon hava, it's a commandment, alechem, to you, le'oyev otam, to have them as enemies. Does it say kill them? No. Does it say annihilate them? No. What does the pasuk clearly say? To start with them, to become with them as enemies. Clearly, Hashem is saying here, this is the second proof, by the way, another proof, that we're not fighting a physical war. Hashem will take it. Hashem will take care of it, and if that's the case, so why on earth did our parsha say Pinchas took trumpets? He's not blowing it to scare anyone. He's not blowing it because they're going into battle. He's not blowing it for any physical reason, so why bring the trumpets? That's why Medrash Tanchuma wrote Hilchot Shabbat by these trumpets. To tell you, you are not battling a physical war. Therefore, it's not a problem, mitzvah or a shoot, we don't care. Pinchas was there to remind you that Shabbat's going to come, because there's a law. There's a Gemara in Yutet, in the Gemara in, which Masei was it that we took out today? The Gemara says in Shabbat, on Yutet, and it's about Shabbat. You do not start a war 3 days before Shabbat. But if you start it, you can continue it. But don't start a war 3 days before Shabbat. And they gave them a few reasons. The Shulchan Aruch Paskin is like one of them. One reason is, by the time you finished laying siege, after day 3, people are going to come back with wounds. Even Chalal Shabbat, bandaging people, putting people on cots. Everyone's going to be, what kind of Shabbat is this? Another reason they give there is because What kind of Onik Shabbat is this? The first 3 days, you're worried. Are you going to make it? Are you going to get home? Once you see the siege is working and everything is happening, then you get your confidence back. You're like, okay, I got this. I got this. The halacha is you don't start a war 3 days before Shabbat because you might lose out on the Onik Shabbat. That's lesson number 2 that Zera Shimshon tells us. How important Onik Shabbat really is. It's so important we'll delay the war that says take revenge because they made fun of us, they made us do averot, nekama av Hashem. Relax, Shabbat. We don't want to ruin Onik Shabbat. Onik Shabbat is that important. I think when we did it last year, we did a little bit. We started Chavrut, have to continue. But we did a little bit also of, I talked a little bit in Halacha, I said then, that there is Zachor and Shamor. There's Oneg, there's Kavod. Washing clothing would be the Kavod. Oneg would be enjoying. There's different parameters where each thing falls under. And to enjoy Shabbat is so important that a war that's going to take Nikama, we say it's okay, relax. We want you to enjoy Shabbat. For that reason, the Pasuk says Tzaror, that even though you need to do something, you don't have to fight. Hashem will take care of this one. That's your third lesson. That always in life, everywhere, and anything that you're going to do, you have to just do your hishtadlut. There's nothing more under the sun that you can do than your hishtadlut. Everything else happens from Hashem. Nothing you can do on your own without Hashem. I don't know if I can get this. This is, look, it says I have to have 10 qualifications. I have none of them. Just send it anyway. How am I going to own, how am I going to live in a big house that's 20 rooms? Just, Hashem said, just do your ishtadlut. If this happens to be that this is what Hashem wanted you to have, it's yours. The war. We just came out of Egypt. What do we have? We don't even have weapons. We don't have, according to some of the Mefarshim, we had nothing. No one owned the pitchfork. One sword we had. One sword. We did that and we got Bilam, miracle. How are you fighting a war? You don't need to fight a war. In fact, according to many Mefarshim, the very reason, the very fact you knocked down Bilam, they all gave up, the rest of them. They said, that was our guy. If they got him, what are we? We're done. And they had the giants. They fell. If they fell, what about us? We're done for. It's all about Ishtadlut. It's all about you putting in your Ishtadlut. And the second lesson we said was Oneg Shabbat, keeping the happiness of Shabbat. I remember times where certain setups, maybe in my own life, wouldn't work it. I made sure, in a way, that everything worked and everyone's happy. I worked it out. I knew that the oneg was very important, and I did it. I'm going to sit in the sefer all night. I'm going to be upset I didn't come. Where was I? Or all afternoon, where was I? So I changed the sefer to something where I could incorporate them. I read, got the kids involved. Everybody started talking to each other. Everyone had a great time. Everyone had enough. Okay, I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. Now you're great. Then I go do what I have to. There's a way. And if you're able to give Oneg Shabbat and do that, Matot Manaim. And then, I want to just point out one other thing. The importance of a certain, if you look at the way Moshe Rabbeinu gives Nevuah and the way he talks, Zera Shimshon tells us something very important. At the beginning of Matot, he has a very small derush, very simple. And he says, Rashi says, Moshe Rabbeinu, he had Nevuah with the words Ko Amar Hashem, like all the other Nevi'im, Ko Amar Hashem, Ko Amar Hashem. If you want to see Ko Amar Hashem, or Zed Davar Asher Tziva Hashem, you can look at Bamidbar Perek Lamed, and you'll see the words Ko Zed Davar Hashem. These are the words of Hashem. Perek Lamed, Pasuk Bet. So that's the beginning of our parsha. This is the words that Hashem commanded. Before Hashem, we're going to say it like this. When Moshe spoke, when Moshe had nevuah, the God spoke through his throat. The voice emanated out of his throat. If you listen to the stories about dibukim, you know that a dibuk comes in, it's talking from the stomach. Dibuk is a soul that lost its way and attaches itself to a living person. This dibuk, the way they talk through the stomach. Yeah. Moshe's voice, right, the voice. Moshe, when he gets nevuah, the voice comes out of his throat. Why in the throat? Because they say like this. Everything comes from Adam HaRishon's neshama, from his soul. From Adam HaRishon ate and gave everyone to eat, and everybody ate and made all the avera of Etz Hadat. The part of the soul that Moshe got from Adam was the kaneh, where the windpipe is, the other lung, not your food pipe, the windpipe. That didn't eat anything. Therefore, he was able to have nevuah direct into his throat, emanated. I said that's the words over here. Zeh davar. These are the words. This came right out of him. Versus all the other nevi'im out of there, they did not speak through the throat. Because his throat was not in the sin of Adam. What does that mean for us? It's a lesson. That means regarding kashrut. That means regarding certain. We grew up our way, the 80s, the 90s, whatever age you are, 70s, 80s, 90s. We had our own different way. Life was very different. There was no cell phones. There were no internet crazy mishugas. To go do a crazy thing, you have to really go out there and do something crazy. Today, everything, if it's unfiltered, it's coming right in, one after the other. And you could see. Look at Moshe Rabbeinu. He had an issue with his lips because he had non-kosher milk. He was nursed first by a goyah. It didn't work out. They called his mother. He had that gold burn his mouth, so no letters came out of his mouth until Torah was given. He couldn't talk. Not one letter came out of his mouth. But yet, nevuah, because his neshama was holy, there was still hope. He still had it. It went through his throat. So we have to think about ourselves and how our families are set up for the future. You have to think about it. There's physical, there's spiritual. How are you building that up that we can have our future on a much higher level? I tell it to my students all the time. I say, you guys are in yeshiva. Your parents didn't have this opportunity. And even if they went to a yeshiva, they didn't have it like this. You're going to regular high schools, not some, high school directly catered for your people, like, oh, you're that type. No, we're going into the regular places. What happened? We're on another level. They want you to be better. They put you here. We're on our way growing. And so we have to also take that into consideration. Moshe Rabbeinu spoke. This is the words Asher Tzivah Hashem. Literally, these are the words because it came out of his throat. Why? Because that throat, the windpipe, was not part of the Avirah that the whole world suffered from Adam HaRishon. And L'Kol Shekain, how much more so, how we and what we do in the house. I'll give you just one example, personal example. Big debate in my family whether we should watch Disney or not. I was always, I saw 5 or 6 Disney movies, so I always thought Disney's kosher. Then I saw a report. Rescuers Down Under, what I said about the subliminal message. Some crazy artist put a non-tzniut picture on the runway when that little birdie takes those 2 people to go save that orphan girl. How did you find it? Some guy went and pressed pause frame by frame to find it. Who's crazier? The guy looking for it? And who's more deviant? The one who put it into a cartoon. That was the start. Today we all know what Disney stands for and what type of family status they want to promote. So it becomes a problem. Even the PBS Arthur became a problem. We found out what he will be in the future. There was an episode at the end when they closed it all after 20 years. He was married to someone like him. The guy with all the midot, that moose with everything, pasul legamrei. And why start your kid off? Why give it to him? Why does he need it for? If there's an option not to play it for them and have other things going, save them. That's the message of the Zera Shimshon. That's what he's telling you. The Moshe Rabbeinu, he was affected physically, but he was lucky that he had his neshama that still had something from on high, and he was able to then bring down so much. How much more so from all of us? Because our neshamot that come, unless they were born on Shabbat, all the neshamot they fix, they connect with something that they fixed from before Gilgul, until they have a true completion and they go up. So our neshamot, even though maybe they're Gilgul, unless you're born on Shabbat and you're brand new, or but you're on Gilgul 4,000 or 5,000 years later, you've already corrected a lot. You're already on a very high level, and there's so much that we have achieved, and there's just a little bit left to get to that point. It may be the will of Hashem that we should continue and reach that point, and we'll see Yeshuot, and we'll see Nechamot, and we'll have Atzlacha, and Parnasah, and everything. Thank you all for joining. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen v'amen. Yes. Go ahead.
First question is, from this psukim that you just read, from Aleph to Gimel and Daf, what's the chiddush that Zera Shimshon brings from this psukim is that this war is happening on Shabbat?
What's the chiddush? The chiddush here is that the milchama is not a regular milchama, it's milchama of a nes. And the reason it has to be that way is because if this is a milchama mitzvah, you're doing it on Shabbat, then you're allowed to do it on Shabbat, but you can't say it's a milchamat mitzvah because you're also going to kill Moshe like that. And therefore, it has to be milchama of a nes. And if that's the case, so why you have the trumpets? The trumpets are coming to remind them that when the war is fighting and we're about to approach Shabbat, do that, so they should put down all their fake weapons. We don't want to show everyone that we're having miracles. Put it all down because it's Shabbat. So we learned the importance of Oneg Shabbat from that, and we learned the importance of what does it mean to have a shtadlut. And the Kadosh Baruch Hu gives us we do the shtadlut, he does everything else on his own. And then the last thing is we brought in the first, that was Derush Gimel, and then we did Derush Aleph, where he talked about that Moshe from Zed Davar, from his throat, because the Masei, that did not have any effect on his throat, because the neshama that he got, the part, the nitzotz of Adam, was the part that did not have an effect from the Etz Hadat. That part did not take in the sin, because it was the windpipe, you eat from the other pipe. And
What do you mean it wasn't part of the sin?
so
Adam Rishon spoke.
Adam Rishon after,
Chava,
yeah, but then everybody ate. Everybody ate, and they fed everyone else, and they fed everything in there.
The second question I have, to finish the first one,
Yeah.
is over here, it says, Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, Lakom nikmat bnei Israel, and then Moshe Rabbeinu says, Lakom nikmat Hashem.
Right.
Changes it.
Right.
So that's, I just didn't get it.
So we see that many places in the Torah. At Chag HaMatzot, at Chag HaPesach. Pesach was for us. Pasachti al bnei Yisrael. B'hotzi'i otam eretz Yitzrayim. I jumped over the houses. But we say Chag HaMatzot because you gave us the mitzvah and you want to do the mitzvah. So we see that a lot of times Hashem will toleh for us because we're Am Meshulash, Am Siglelet, Am Mesugal.
We should also be grateful because we should say Chag HaPesach, why? Because we're grateful Hashem Pasach.
So we do both. But the way we attribute, that's the way we attribute, and it's a love. It's, if you want to know where this comes from, it comes from a love. Shir Hashirim Asher Lishlomo. So over there, if you look at the Lishonot on how he describes us and how we describe him, first love, second love, and how it does, it's not the same. It shows that there's an affection.
So we there's an affection that comes from
Yes.
avenge the Jewish nation,
Yes.
and then Moshe avenge
Hashem. And the mitzvah was for us to avenge Hashem, which is, by the way, the Zera Shimshon says. Look, it's good you brought that up. If you're doing nekama for Hashem, we don't care milchemet reshut, milchemet mitzvah. You have another mitzvah. Do nekama for Hashem. That's why the Torah wrote Saror. Saror, the Midanim didn't say kill them. Le'oyev otam, make them your enemy. Scare them. Make the noise, walk in there, get them. Hashem will take care of the rest. And that was the lesson of Ishtadlut. Just do your part, and Hashem will take care of the rest. Thank you. Very good questions. That really is a good question. Both of them were exactly. I took it out of the shir. I took out the analytical part. I wanted to make it easy. And those are the parts that I took out. Thank you.